Once nicknamed the Grey Ghost, the RMS Queen Mary has an impressive history that can all still be experienced today. On special assignment, Alec and his wife Tabetha paid a special visit to this famous ocean superliner, now residing in beautiful Long Beach, California. Operating primarily as a hotel, event space, and museum nowadays, the Queen Mary also provides a very welcoming selection of attractions on board. Delicious food and beverage options are available, along with a variety of tour packages and exhibits to help guests become more acquainted with why this historic ship is incredibly significant to the world today.
Chiefs.
Of course, we have all heard that it is very haunted. The CREEPZ Ghost Commandos have always said that in order to understand the paranormal, we must first have a grasp on the reality that surrounds us. Therefore, let's take a look to see if we can uncover some factors on why the RMS Queen Mary is the source of so many fascinating ghost stories. In the 1920s, England, Germany, Italy, and France were all fiercely competing against each other for the top spot in luxury ocean travel. Not afraid of competition, England-based Cunard Shipping and Cruise Line Company has plans to expand and update their fleet of ocean liners, designated for passenger travel within the North Atlantic Ocean. Cunard had been sailing the open seas since 1840, delivering mail on mostly well-populated coasts of the Atlantic Ocean. Their early 1900s fleet of ships were very experienced, but aging quickly in an already fast-paced race against the other ocean liners. In 1930, Cunard teams up with shipbuilder John Brown & Company out of Scotland to start production on a brand new ocean liner that was slated to become their most powerful vessel and also their most luxurious. All was moving along nicely with the early stages of the shipbuilding until the Great Depression forced production to stop in late 1931. After a few years of financial troubles and slowed production, Cunard received assistance from the British government to keep the project of building job number 534 alive. As another form of assistance, Cunard merged with another popular British shipping company called White Star Line. Yes, the White Star Line that produced the Titanic in 1911. Forward momentum resumed in 1934 with the help of this combined effort, and it was time for the Cunard White Star Line to name their soon-to-be finished flagship. Certainly a very important process for a ship of its caliber. According to the Queen Mary's website, legend states that the Cunard directors went to ask King George V for his blessing of the ship's proposed name, saying, "We have decided to name our new ship after England's greatest queen," introspectively meaning Queen Victoria, the king's grandmother. These directors, however, did not name the actual queen they were referring to. Understandably, the king is reported to have quickly replied, "My wife, Queen Mary, will be delighted that you are naming the ship after her." You can't argue with the king. Shortly after, the royal family gathers in Scotland to have Her Royal Majesty Queen Mary, in person with the king, officiate the ceremonial naming and launch of this newborn boat. With hundreds of excited onlookers, the dedicated crew carefully maneuvers the spectacular RMS Queen Mary out of her shipyard down the River Clyde and on the way to the southern coast of England to prepare for a monumental future. The RMS Queen Mary was ready for her maiden voyage on May 27, 1936. She departed Southampton, England, and gained impressive speed in the Atlantic Ocean on the way to New York. She arrived a few days later on June 1st. Elegant, fast, and safe were the words used to describe the passenger experience aboard the Queen Mary. Named after royalty, this vessel must be luxurious and enchanting. The interior certainly met these requirements with stylish amenities and forward-thinking technologies. On top of her proven sophistication, power was also a must-have. The Queen Mary was constructed to be a very large vessel. At a little over 1,000 feet long, the ship stands 181 feet tall with 12 individual decks. This allowed for a comfortable capacity of 2,000 guests along with 1,000 crew members. The recognizable 3 smokestacks are a symbol of her power. The lower decks housed a total of 27 boilers, a massive turbine steam engine with 257,000 steel blades that were all set by hand, and its machinery helped power the 4 huge propellers. Each propeller weighs 35 tons and stands 20 feet high. How does one slow down a boat this big? Understandably, the Queen Mary needs 3 anchors, 2 of which were located at the bow. Each anchor stands 18 feet tall and weighs 16 tons apiece. The chains used to operate the anchors added up to a very long 1,980 feet. Each individual chain link weighed a whopping 224 pounds. Designed with great care, each piece of her 81,237 tons was built to last. Excited to be in the water after so much work, the Queen Mary is destined for greatness. In 1937, the Queen Mary received a very prestigious honor for a passenger liner. This award is called the Blue Ribbon, which is presented to a ship with the fastest transatlantic crossing. In the ocean liner industry, this was a much coveted award, and competition for it was fierce. The Queen Mary was dethroned from this title temporarily, but quickly won it back the next year, achieving 31.69 knots. That's about 36 miles per hour to us Americans, or 60 kilometers per hour for our European friends. What is even more impressive is that the Queen Mary would keep the title of this accomplishment for a very long 14 years until 1952. The ocean liner quickly became popular to very distinguished passengers, especially those movie stars from Hollywood. The Queen Mary still pays honor to these guests today. Here is Alfred Hitchcock, Abbott and Costello,
Hey, Abbott!
Anna May Wong, Audrey Hepburn, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, Cary Grant, Clark Gable, and Marilyn Maxwell. Comedian Buster Keaton and his wife Eleanor. Dolores Del Rio. Douglas Fairbanks. Frequent visitor Elizabeth Taylor. Ella Fitzgerald. Fred Astaire. Grace Kelly. Greta Garbo. Helen Keller. Star of the film Psycho, Janet Leigh, sitting with Tony Curtis. The highest paid actor of 1954, Jimmy Stewart, along with his wife, Gloria. Judy Garland. Comedy legends Laurel and Hardy. Liberace, who loved the Queen Mary so much he actually taped his Valentine's Day special for CBS TV on board in 1979. Lionel Barrymore. Mae West with the Paparazzi. Margaret Thatcher. Silent film star Mary Pickford. Mickey Rooney. Mr. and Mrs. Spencer Tracy. Olympian Jesse Owens. Sir Alec Guinness. Tennessee Williams. Walt Disney. And our personal favorites, the Three Stooges. After enjoying a few years of luxurious recreation and travel, the year of 1939 takes a dramatic turn and brings the start of World War II. It is well known how much the role of water played in World War II. The enemy in Germany made patrolling the open waters their priority. especially underwater with their fleet of submarines and U-boats. U-boats traveled at a top speed of 23 miles per hour and were equipped with torpedoes. The commanders of the Allied forces knew that speed could be their best defense against these sneaky U-boats. As the reigning Blue Ribbon title holder, the speedy Queen Mary was an obvious choice to help with the war efforts. Work quickly commenced to convert the majestic ocean liner into a tough-looking warship. The fancy interior was stripped down, and the woodwork was protected with leather. To help hold more personnel, the interior was retrofitted to house more than twice its original capacity. Guns and cannons were equipped to her decks. Sonar was installed to detect submarines. Finally, with over 30 tons of navy gray paint to cover her trademark red, black, and white exterior, the Queen Mary now becomes the swift-moving Gray Ghost. The Gray Ghost was making a positive impact on the war effort. In fact, she was building a reputation of being nearly untouchable, zigzagging through the open seas, never taking the same route twice. At one point during World War II, the Gray Ghost safely transported over 10,000 individuals, a notable accomplishment of being the very first time a water vessel carried that many people at once. The Allied forces would repeat this feat a few more times in the years ahead. The highest mark achieved on one of its future wartime voyages was a monumental 16,683 individuals. On top of being a safe haven for Allied troops, the Gray Ghost also transported 5,000 German prisoners of war in 1943. Prime Minister Winston Churchill was a very instrumental figure of World War II. Finding safety and comfort within the Gray Ghost, the newly appointed First Lord of Admirals spearheaded many meetings of strategy for the Allied forces on this very boat. Known as Colonel Warden while on board, he made several safe journeys back and forth over long distances on the Gray Ghost. He would make the transatlantic voyage to meet with President Franklin D. Roosevelt in New York to discuss the war efforts. While on board the Gray Ghost, he even signed the D-Day Declaration. Sir Winston Churchill is quoted as saying that the Queen Mary had helped shorten the war by a full year. Today, the staff associated with the Queen Mary has built a very educational and powerful exhibit to showcase Sir Winston Churchill's frequent command post visits, along with how the ship assisted in the war efforts. It features recreations of his bedroom on board and the office where he would meet with the British War Cabinet. It also provides visuals on some of the living conditions for the vast number of troops housed within the decks. Overall, this exhibit furnishes a wonderful history lesson to help the viewer gain a very important understanding of World War II and how important the Grey Ghost was during these unparalleled times. After World War II, and a total of 70 very lengthy voyages between the years of 1940 to 1945, the desire for normalcy stands tall, and work begins to convert the Grey Ghost back into the majestic Queen Mary. Cunard White Star recognizes a great opportunity to welcome ocean travelers back, and perseveres through supply and labor shortages that happened after the war. On July 31st, 1947, the Royal Mail ship Queen Mary is back to recreational travel, carrying 1,900 passengers and a little over 1,200 crew members, much less than the 16,000 that she carried on a single trip just 4 years before. The Hollywood stars, figures of royalty, and the regular patrons from the 1930s also return. Transatlantic ocean travel is still reaching an all-time high, reaching 1 million passengers just about each and every year during the 1950s. The Queen Mary was truly in her golden years during this time period. When the 1960s arrived, advancements in airplanes have come a long way. While the Queen Mary was still a very fast water vessel, air travel was becoming a more efficient way of traveling across the ocean. Demand for the luxurious services of the transatlantic travel by boat began to steadily decrease each year, and it was getting more challenging to fix the wear and tear of this historic boat. Plus, the Queen Mary was originally designed for travel back and forth through the wide open Atlantic Ocean, which means that she was much too big to travel to the smaller ports located in warmer tropical zones. Ships do have a time limit, and Cunard White Star had some big business decisions to make. In an effort to find profitability again, the Queen Mary was used for more leisurely cruise travel for a good portion of the 1960s. But it was just becoming too difficult to compete with the super popular travel of flying through the skies. In 1967, it was announced that the Queen Mary had officially achieved a well-deserved retirement status after 30-plus years of aggressive excursions. Still a valuable ship with so many exquisite attractions on board, the England-based ocean liner was approved to be purchased by the city of Long Beach, California in the USA. On Halloween of 1967, the Queen Mary begins her last great cruise with a heartfelt send-off from the port of Southampton in England. Hundreds watched her 3 funnels steam off to the west. The British Royal Marine Band performed the sentimental farewell music, just as they did before during the ocean liner's maiden voyage back in 1936. This final journey to Long Beach, California was indeed a tremendous one. The ship was too big to take a shortcut through the Panama Canal. Therefore, the only route was to curve around the southernmost tip of South America. The last great cruise would last a total of 39 days, including stops along the way to conduct royal visits in most of South America's port cities. Finally, on December 9th, 1967, the Queen Mary cruises along the California coastline with a ceremonial welcome. The sight of the welcoming party was amazing in every way. It is estimated that 5,000 smaller vessels accompanied the retired ocean liner through the waters into her new home within the Long Beach harbor. Being able to explore the historic Queen Mary truly is an indescribable feeling. It is amazing what the Queen Mary survived: the Great Depression, a very active role in World War II, intense travels through Cape Town, Bombay, and even Australia, and a final 39-day steam engine voyage through the sweltering tropics. When you visit the Queen Mary, you get to explore where the riveters of Clydebank pieced together the ship. You get to see where the engineers manned the equipment through icy waters. You get a very eerie look at one of her propellers underwater, which can be very frightening to some. You get to look over the edge just as a hopeful soldier did during the war. You get to buy yourself a drink in the first-class observation bar. You get to stroll the promenade deck just as a Hollywood star did. You get to enjoy the same type of first-class treatment from the staff that keeps this wonderful opportunity for historic exploration alive. Now that we have a better understanding of the ship's history, it is clear why the Queen Mary has so many ghost stories. If you find yourself fortunate enough to board the legendary Queen Mary to explore her paranormal claims, please pause your investigation and pay your respects to the millions, if not billions, of lives that the Queen Mary has impacted.